With each new version of Photoshop, there's always at least one star feature that's always going to attract a lot of attention. And sure, we have things like the masking panel and adjustments panels, which are very good for everyday production work. But this particular feature, the content-aware scaling that I'm going to discuss in this particular movie tutorial, is of great interest. Actually, for some photographers, it might be considered controversial, not least because of the fact that if your photographs are being controlled by other people, such as art directors or designers, who may be tempted to work with the editing of the photographs, there's always the worry that they might start using this feature to destroy your original intentions in the photograph. But having said that, if you're a photographer who's working in advertising or design and you're the one who's in charge of doing all the retouching work, then I think you'll find that given the needs that art directors will give you, such as the ability to scale a photograph at different proportions, i.e. a billboard or a magazine or a usage on the internet, then knowing how this feature works I think may be something that you'll find of interest for lots of practical reasons. Well, enough waffling about what this feature is about in terms of the philosophy and the thinking behind it. Let's actually get on now with examples of how it can be used. So for this particular photograph, which was taken by Jeff Shuey in Antarctica, I'm going to begin by going to the layers panel and do what you need to do in each case, which is to double click the background layer to convert it to an ordinary layer so that you can get the content aware scaling feature to work. And the next step is to look at enlarging the canvas area so that we can scale the image to a new canvas size. And to do that, I'll go to the image menu and choose canvas size. I'll click on the bottom button down here because I want to add more on the left and right and on the top. And for the dimensions, I'll put in 20% on the top and 20% on the sides. And here you can see the photograph with the added canvas area and the transparent pixels around the outer edge. Okay, so now we've done that, we need to start using the content aware scaling. So this is found in the edit menu. If we go down here, you'll see content aware scale, and be aware of the fact that if you're working on a Mac, the shortcut here is Option Shift Command and C, and if you're working on a PC, it's Option Shift Control C. So if I choose that command, then if I drag out on the handle here on the right and hold down the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a PC, as I drag outwards you'll see that we're increasing the width of the photograph, but as I do so the penguins have all stayed exactly the same size as they were already. All I've actually done is increase the width on the left hand side here, and I've added more over here on the right and also in between, but as I say, the penguins themselves have remained exactly as they are. They're just spread slightly further apart. If I want to add some more area at the top, then if I drag on this top handle, you'll notice that the preview takes a little bit longer to refresh. That's because it's now calculating a stretch in two directions. But the interesting thing to note here is down on the horizon line that hasn't moved at all, so the horizon has stayed exactly where it is. If I try taking this top handle up even further to do a complete scaling, if you look at what happens to the penguins, you'll see that as the preview refreshes, that we've now just gone that little stage too far, and so it's not always possible to actually achieve the desired content scaling all in one single move. So if I bring the top handle back down again to where we were before, if I decide, okay, that's fine there, let me just hit the enter key to OK that transformation. The transform takes place and you can see that we've completed the first stage. So let me go to the edit menu again and choose content aware scale and finish off by just dragging that top handle up a little bit further, and you can see that by doing this in two stages that I managed to increase the height at the top of the picture but without stretching the size of the penguins at all. And that gives us the finished result. If I go over here to the history panel, we can go back and see the beginning image. This is where we started from and this is where we ended up. So going before and then going after. A pretty good clear example of how the content aware scaling can be used to add space around your subject. Okay, let me close that image down now and then go to Bridge and open up a different image, this time one of the photographs that you can find on the DVD help guide. This is in the images folder in the chapter 5 subfolder. This is another photograph taken by Jeff Shuey. And for this particular example, let's go to the layers panel again and do the same thing as I did before and double click so that we can create a new layer. So we create an ordinary layer instead of having a background layer so that we can use the feature. Let's close down the layers panel now that we don't need to use that. And I'm going to go to the edit menu and choose content aware scale. And now that we're in the content aware scale mode, you'll see that the options panel at the top here has changed. And there's this button here which, if we click on it, we can go into the protect skin tones mode. To see how this affects the way we scale the image, let me just show you first of all with that option selected what happens. As I drag on this right handle, you can see that the heads of the two models actually stay exactly as they are so that they remain protected, and it's only all the other areas of the picture that get compressed. If you look at the left hand side here, you can see that it's pretty crunchy, the same is true on the right. So as I change from a landscape format to convert this into a portrait format image, I can keep the faces the same, although as I say the rest of the image is beginning to suffer. If I press the escape key to get out of there, let's have a look at doing the content aware scaling again. But this time I'll switch that option off. As I drag on the handle, you'll see that actually it doesn't seem to make a huge amount of difference because again the faces remain pretty recognizable and uncompressed, but as soon as I get to that point you'll start seeing how the compression is affecting the left hand side of the young model's face, and so there is a subtle difference between the two, and you'll notice that when you're using this feature with a lot of different images that it's pretty clever at actually recognizing things like, for example, circles and other objects that shouldn't be compacted. And if you, for example, go to Russell Brown's website at russellbrown.com, you'll find he's got a really good tutorial there where he shows how you can compress a Volkswagen camper van and keep the wheels exactly the same but turn it into a little tiny smart car version. Great stuff to watch. So let's just get out of there, close down, and go now to the last image I want to work with, which is this photograph here taken on the beach, where I want to show now how you can actually remove people from a photograph using the content aware scaling. To start with, let's go to the quick selection mode down at the bottom, which you can switch to just by pressing the Q key on the keyboard, and then I'm going to select the brush tool, make sure that black is the foreground color here, and simply just paint a mask over the object that you want to remove, in this case the figure here on the right, and that's it. That's defined the object that needs to be removed. Then if I go to the layers panel, I need to double click to convert this to a new layer. You'll see that the quick mask has disappeared. Don't worry, it's still active and we're going to use that in a second. And then go to the edit menu again and choose content aware scale. And before I start dragging in, I need to first of all make sure that we've got the protect skin tones option selected, and then up here in the protect menu choose the quick mask option so that we choose quick mask, the mask which I just created a little while ago. And then watch what happens as I drag here. You can see as I drag the handle that it starts to compress the image but makes as a priority getting rid of the figure that I drew or covered over with the mask. Then if I click OK, you'll see that there's the finished result. And admittedly, it hasn't got rid of everything. You can still see some of the pixels there. And it would be too difficult for me just to use the healing brush or the clone stamp tool just to go over those areas and finish them off and clean up the picture completely. So there you have it. Here's the feature that I jokingly refer to in the book as the death of real photography. But as I said at the beginning, I do think that actually for some photographers, such as people working in advertising design, there are a lot of real practical benefits that you will gain from working with this particular new tool in Photoshop CS4.